Hey guys, welcome to Taco TuesGays with Kade. So this week's topic is personal journeys, and before I start rambling about that, I just want to say I just made a video. I made this video and it's 23 minutes long, and it won't upload on anything, and who wants to listen to a video for 23 minutes? So I'm redoing it, so kudos to me for telling the story twice. But yeah, so personal journey, I'm going to try to speed this up, especially since I already know what I talked about the first time around. So long story short, I grew up with my mom. She was a single mom. My dad is basically the worst human on the planet. He's scum. He's in prison for some really bad stuff involving kids. I'm going to just let your guys' minds wander on that because really I don't like to relate myself to that. But yeah, he's a really bad guy. I haven't seen him since I was like 5 or 6. So yeah, my brother and I ended up living with my mom, growing up, and that was fine. We lived in government housing, more specifically the projects. So I was able to learn a lot more about different cultures and ethnicities that way. We were some of the only white kids, in our specific, area, in our specific, it was called the Heritage Park, but in the specific place where we lived. So, I don't know, I think that was really neat. I got to learn about different kinds of peoples, and I think it made me understand more of how, the breakdown of, barriers between race, gender, and class really work. So that was interesting. My mom worked pretty much part-time. It was 29 hours a week. I think the government's kind of fucked because, so we got food stamps, which was great because I remember always having a good home-cooked meal, chicken with green beans and potatoes, or pork chops with scalloped potatoes and corn. I remember always having good home-cooked meals because of that, so that's awesome. Although some people think that having food stamps just means you're lazy and that you don't work, but that's not always the case, and so I hope people are able to differentiate the two, that yes, some people do abuse the system, but also some people are actually in need, because without food stamps, they wouldn't be able to feed themselves or their children. So yeah, that was the plan, and we did that for a while. My mom got us into these low-income, government-based apartments. We lived there. I met a lot of cool people and made a lot of new friends. But I also started doing stuff I shouldn't have been doing. I remember at a very young age, I was probably 14 or 15, I started having sex with men. Fun fact, I'm not a gold star lesbian. How depressing. But yeah, so I was doing that. I also was experimenting with drugs, including cocaine. I was skipping school. I think I missed 45 days my freshman year of high school. So I was just not in a very good place. I was doing things that would shock a lot of people, especially now when I tell them these stories. So I've definitely 180'd since then. But long story short, we lived in these government apartments, and I just started to get into trouble. I don't want to say it was necessarily in the environment, which I'm sure a lot of that contributed to it. But it was also my age. I was 14, 15 years old. I was just trying to, do what my friends were doing. A lot of peer pressure and accepting, you wanted to be accepted and fit in. So, yeah, so I lived with my mom and my little brother, and that was great for a while. I had no dad. I had no, I still have daddy issues. I'll admit that to this day. Any man that has tried to come into my life, I resent. I don't like any man trying to tell me what to do. They're not my father. I don't have a father, and that's how it is. I think a lot of my sexuality probably deprives from that too. Obviously, I'm attracted to women, but I think a lot of my emotional connection does come from having so many women influences in my life. But yeah, so living in the projects was definitely mind-boggling. I learned a lot about different people. And I think that's one of the main reasons I want to go into social work. I don't know, you learn to view people differently once, your situation's changed. But, so, one of my biggest personal journey experiences is when I was 15. I was out being stupid, doing dumb shit, like fighting and arguing with my mom all the time. Normal teenage shit. But my mom got really, really sick. I went away on vacation, and when I came back, my sisters were there, and we moved to Ohio. Literally, the day I came back, all my shit was packed in my apartment, and my siblings were like, we can't take care of mom anymore. There's too much wrong with her. Like, we're sending you to Ohio so she can get better help. So I had to leave all of my family and friends behind, and I had to move here. I had no choice, and that was really, really something hard in my life. Like, you take this 15-year-old that, really my friends and my family, like, that I had were everything to me. That's all I'd ever known. Like, I'd grown up in, like, this stereotypically poor environment, and, like, that meant more to me than anything in the world, and that got taken away. But what happened was my mom started to go through menopause. She's 53 at the time, something like that. And when she started to go through menopause, her brain kind of shut down. She was experiencing a lot of signs of anxiety, depression, and then also mental disorders, including schizophrenia. So she didn't, like, know who we were half the time. She wasn't taking good, like, care of herself. Her hygiene was bad. She wasn't able to perform certain tasks like bathing on her own. It was really scary because doctors really didn't have answers either. So basically we got shipped to Ohio, and my mom spent some time in a mental health, like, unit, and they put her on pills, and she stayed there. It was kind of like a psych ward, to be completely honest, and I had to move in with my uncle and his kids that I had literally never met. Like, I didn't know these kids, and we were so polar opposites. So his kids and himself were really religious, and they went to private Catholic schools, and like I said, I was literally doing cocaine the week before, and, like, having sex with these men. So it was a really, really hard adjustment, and I mean, looking back on it now, I'm so glad we did that, because I don't know where I would be if we hadn't moved here. I would probably have a bunch of kids that I couldn't afford and still be in the welfare system, or probably be dead. So I'm very proud of where I am. Like, I'm in college, and I am going to be the first person to graduate in my immediate family. It's going to happen. There are no exceptions. So it's going to happen, and that wouldn't have happened without moving here. Same with finding Kaylee and, just getting my life together. I never thought I would be the person to make it out, and I did. And I don't particularly like the circumstances that got me out, but I'm going to make something of myself. Just because, what is the saying? Where you don't have to end up where you grew up, or something like that. So just because I lived poor and in the projects doesn't mean I have to end up poor and in the projects. So yeah, another big life experience for me was also when I came out as gay, and then again as, like, non-binary. That was really hard. That's a total change of character, but I found that as I came out, I was feeling so much more in tune with myself, and I started to figure out more things that I liked about myself. Like I said in my last video, I enjoy skateboarding, I enjoy video games, just stereotypical boy things that as a female I was too scared to, like, admit that I liked. What else? I have daddy issues. I can fully admit that I have daddy issues. Like I said, my dad's in prison. He's a piece of shit. There's no point in even going into detail with him, but since he has left, any other man that's attempted to come into my life, whether it be my uncles, whether it be, like, my older sibling's dad, like, I shut it down. Like, no man is going to come in my life and tell me what to do. Granted, now I can, like, differentiate, like, them trying to be a helpful influence, and back then when I was a kid and they were trying to tell me what to do. So I've grown a lot, and I think they've understood the difference, like, in me too as I've grown up. And I turned out pretty alright, so I think everyone, like, ended up in a win-win situation there. What else? Leaving when I had to move here, like I said, it was overnight. I went on vacation with my friends, and when I came back, All our stuff in our apartment was packed, and my siblings were like, we have to send you to Ohio. Like, we don't know what to do for mom. And when that happened, that was literally the most devastating moment in my life. Like, that changed on a whim. I had to leave my sisters, and I had to leave my friends. Like, everything I'd known for like 15, 16 years was just out the window, and I had to completely start over from scratch. And, you know, that's hard. Like, my sisters were like my life. Like, they used to take care of me and take me, like, my sisters used to take me to NBA games and ice skating, and they always brought food over like twice a week, and we'd sit down and watch TV shows. We'd make dinner together. Like, they were such heavy influences on my life, and then just to be like cut off, I can't even imagine that. My brother and I cried for like months because it was just this huge adjustment. Like I said, now I look back on it and I'm glad it happened, because my mom, my brother, and I all ended up succeeding because of it. We all ended up in better places in our life because of it. But it was definitely a transition. What else did I want to talk about? Personal journey. Coming out as non-binary and genderqueer was very hard for me. I've always had top dysphoria, like chest dysphoria, and I don't think that's ever going to change. I plan on getting top surgery, like I said, in the near future. But I used to watch like YouTube videos of trans guys, and I do think I very much do identify as trans or trans-masculine. But at this stage of my life, I don't want to start hormones. That's just not, like, something I personally need and want to do. But I started watching those videos, and I was like, wow, like, this is the missing link. Like, this is what it is. Just like Alex said, like, you see things on YouTube, and you're like, wow. But yeah, so finding out that, like, watching these videos and then finding out about, like, non-binary and genderqueer people, I don't know why I did that. But that, like, opened my eyes to realizing that I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. Like, I am happy, and I'm finally at a place where I am totally accepting of myself. Like, and Kaylee's totally accepting of me, and so is my family and my friends, so are my family and my friends. So, like, why does it fucking matter, like, what I identify as? Like, I'm not trying to make your lives easier, I'm trying to make my life easier, and by doing that, I think it does make everyone else's life easier, because I'm living as my authentic self, so there's no weird, like, questioning. Like, I'm just me. I'm just doing my own thing, and by doing that, everyone can, like, I don't know, I don't want to say feel my good vibes, but, like, we're all just in good places. So, yeah, that was also super hard, because I always wanted to identify as trans, and I don't know, I had the constant argument in my head of, I have to be trans because I have to start hormones, and if I identify as trans, I have to take hormones. And so finding, like, I would say more boy, B-O-I, like we talked about in my last videos, just finding out that, no, like, not every transition is the same, not every person is the same, so do my own thing. I don't want to start hormones, and that's perfectly okay. And someone that does, kudos to you too. Like, we are all individuals, and we can all do what we want. So, yeah, that's another big part in my journey. So I talked about my mom's mental health and her getting really sick. I talked about coming out as non-binary, leaving my family and friends, especially my sisters. Those were really hard. Coming out as gay was really hard too, just because my family is so religious, and they're not really accepting. They still aren't to this day. My mom is, but she's a whole different person. So that was super hard, but it made me who I am. One little thing I want to point on before this goes over 15 minutes and I can't upload it. My cousin, I moved in with my uncle when we moved here. Like, I didn't know anyone. And my cousin is literally my best friend. She probably won't watch this, but we just switched lives. Like, she was this little white girl that went to an all-private, like, Catholic school, and all her friends were rich, and I don't know, she didn't know much about, like, diversity and, like, the differences. And, like, me moving in with her, being this white kid that had done drugs and was having sex and, like, literally was a hood rat, she got to experience that. And I think, like, we hated each other at first, but now we've learned to, like, love each other and accept each other's differences, so much so that we like, flip-flopped. We, like, 180'd. So now I'm in school, I'm going to college, and I'm doing something with my life. I don't want to say white privilege, but that's how more I feel. And then she, on the opposite side, is now she works at inner city schools in Cleveland with, like, minorities, and she worked in, like, a Star House, facility for underprivileged youth. Okay, I gotta go. It's gonna cut me off. Love you guys. See you next week.